Today we're going to do a little awning maintenance. I noticed the last time I cleaned on this awning and put it in and put it back out, it was really slow to take up. In fact, it was barely going. I was kind of worried I'm going to burn up the motor. So I decided I'm going to go ahead and lube this up. And so what I've done here is you can use WD-40, that's more of a water displacement, but I'm using a 3-in-1 spray oil here. And it's a dry lube. You could probably use a different type that doesn't have as much grease, and there's a kind of a powdery kind too as well. And I'm putting a little bit on this strut, not a lot, but just enough to oil it down. And I'm actually hitting the spots up in here where that turns right up inside of this side. This side doesn't have the motor, so I spray it a little bit heavier. This side has the motor, so I don't want to mess up that motor, so I'm only putting a little bit as needed. So I'm hoping that's going to make it work a lot better. So when I'm spraying it, if you look up in there, you'll see a little silvery part. It's the shaft that this turns on. I'm actually hitting a little bit of that in through there on each side. Then take a rag and wipe off any excess, that way it won't gather dust. And on this side, it doesn't really have that shaft. It just kind of has a big section in there. So I'm spraying it up in there. And it's dripping off there. I'll have to wipe that down. And then after that, I'm gonna bring it in and out a few times just to kind of get that grease into position. And we'll see how this works. Another thing you want to look at when you're doing this is on the electrical side, you'll see that wire that's inside of there. And you'll see there's a cover that covers this. You want to make sure this cover is back snapped inside there. If you notice, mine's coming loose at the top here. So if that ever comes loose, you're going to loose it, and then you won't have anything to cover that wire and protect it. So you want to get up here, kind of push it back in place here. You'll see it kind of snapped out of here. It snaps in behind this piece. And you want to keep an eye on that, make sure it's back in there, because you'll lose that over time. So just another thing to look at. And of course, just like you should know that by now, you never have these tightened down when you put your awning up. Make sure those are loose when you do this, because if you do, it's gonna break something. So make sure those are loose. Now I've run this back a few times. You'll see it's still kind of slow, but it's a little faster than it was. So if anybody else is having this problem and has found a way to get that motor to go a little faster, let me know in the comments. You can hear it's having a hard time, but like I say, it's a lot better than it was after I lubed that up. The only thing I didn't do was lube up these particular areas right here and here on each one of the pieces coming down. I don't think that's really a binding issue, but you could probably put a little bit of 3-in-1 oil on that as well. But that's about all I have for this video. I just wanted to show you some maintenance things and ask your opinion on what you think it might be best to have that motor not dragging so much. Definitely got enough battery power. I'm at 100%, so it's not a battery issue. So that's all I have, and we'll see you on another RV short.